I used my own VA loan to buy a home. So when I hear these myths online in Facebook groups or even by other agents, it's personal. So let's clear them up one by one. And I've got a new one for you because the VA just changed the rules. So as an agent, it was kind of disheartening. I've had to talk to sellers because as a veteran using my own VA loan, I got to see firsthand that some sellers are just completely misinformed about VA loans. And maybe if they were getting, an offer for a VA loan, like they were leery of accepting it. They put other loan types ahead of a VA loan, and that was really disheartening. So I want to make sure that we are clearing up any of these VA loan myths, and we're going to talk about the latest change that helps using a VA loan even easier. Now, the first one is the myth is that sellers won't accept VA loans, okay? So we know that that's not entirely true, but I just mentioned that there is a little bit of misinformation out there that's outdated. So sellers don't reject VA loans because they're VA loans, but I would say that they reject the uncertainty of them. But here's the real number. So the VA processed 525,000 VA loans in 2025, and that was up 25% year over year. So our veterans, people are using their VA loans. So well-prepared VA offer, strong pre-approval, clean file, competitive price. It competes just fine. Competes right up there with any other conventional, all the other loan types. So myth 2, that VA loans take forever to close. Now this could have been the case back in the day, but I can personally attest that I was on the list, I was a listing agent. They were using their VA loan and that closed in 3 weeks. I actually called the agent. I was like, I don't know about this one. I don't know. Because VA loans used to take anywhere from like an extra 10 to 45 days. There was no quickness about it. That has changed. They typically close around the same amount of time as a conventional loan. And if things are delayed, it's usually a paperwork issue related to like property condition. It's not like the VA itself dragging out this process. And then this is important to know. I did a whole separate video about this topic, but as of May 1st, 2026, the VA just made appraisals a whole heck of a lot easier. And I don't know, maybe you haven't heard about this, maybe you have, but for years, the biggest reason that VA loans fell apart, it wasn't the buyer's issue. It was the appraisal finding something small. Seriously, sometimes they were super small, and killing the whole deal. A shed with a sagging door, peeling paint on the trim of a home built in the 90s, no radon certificate on new construction. But as of May 1st, 2026, the VA cut several of those minimum property requirements. So peeling or chipping paint on homes built 1978 or later is no longer automatic repair condition. It's treated as cosmetic now. Detached sheds, garages, and outbuildings are no longer evaluated against VA standards at all. And the radon certification for new construction is completely gone. So those are some major changes that makes the process of using the VA loan a whole heck of a lot easier. But to be clear, pre-1978, lead paint rules and of course, the VA still checks that the home is safe, sound, and sanitary. So if you're a seller who's been leery about accepting a VA offer because you're picturing an appraisal nightmare, that's simply an outdated fear now. No need to worry. All right. Another myth is that sellers have to cover all the closing costs for a VA offer. So that is no. Seller concessions on a VA loan are negotiated exactly like any other offer. The VA actually caps how much a seller can contribute towards certain costs, which is up to 4% of the home's value. But nothing requires a seller to pay a dime. So this alone has talked sellers out of good offers for no reason. All right, another myth is that zero down means that the buyer is financially weaker. And that's backwards, actually, because VA buyers are underwritten with real income and credit standards. Many carry strong credit, stable, verifiable income, especially active duty and retirees with steady base pay. Zero down is a benefit that these buyers have earned, not a sign that they can't afford the home. I know the first time I used my VA loan, I was in my early 20s, and I thought that was fun. I was like, what? I can buy this home with like no money down. It was amazing. Yeah, it's one of the benefits of having served. And then the funding fee. So we're going to explain that a little bit. And this is the one that confuses people a lot. So the VA funding fee is a one-time cost of 2.15% of the loan with zero down on the first use of the loan in 2026. and then 3.3% on a future use. Now, veterans with a service-connected disability rating of 10% or higher are completely exempt from this funding fee. So that alone can save you $4,000 to $10,000 on a typical purchase. So if you've got any disability ranking at all, you need to ask your lender to check before you assume that you owe it. That's a huge savings. So if you're active duty, a veteran, a military spouse thinking about relocating here to St. Johns County, I've done this exact process myself numerous times, both as a buyer and as your agent. I have a free military relocation guide that I've created just for you. I am going to put the link in the description. If you have any questions about this type of move, I'm going to put my contact information right here. You can use it to call, text, email, ask any questions that you have. Of course, you can always drop those questions, comments in the comment section, and reach out if you want to talk about your specific situation. So, no pressure, just an open conversation from somebody who's actually done the process using my own VA loan and then now as a real estate agent. So, all right. I hope you found this super helpful. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, the like button, and until next time.